Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Rob Browne here with you on this Thursday morning. I'm going to tell you one thing. I am absolutely going crazy right now. I'm a 9-year-old on Christmas Eve wanting to get that 10 speed. I'm calling the Hogs. I cannot contain myself. I see Dudley Dawson from Newport. We had Houston Nutt on the show yesterday. If that guy doesn't get you fired up emotionally, spiritually about football, about life, and he's going to stay out of New York City this year because he's got two grandsons. He goes, I've never been to a tailgate. That blew my mind. We got a great show in store for you today. First off, thanks to everybody listening. Appreciate it more than you imagine. We got a growing show because we got great listeners and viewers. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Great supporters in the Club 250, which we'll tell you more about. And Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, bats in the leadoff position. The Pride, favorite son, Newport, Arkansas. Balch, actually. And Gary Harris, second segment, checks in from Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9, WVUA TV 23. Does a great TV show Tuesday nights at 6:30 p.m. Catch it, Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr. Hour number 2, Coach Matt Dean checks in from Memphis, and Ben Troop from Savannah, ESPN Coastal. And checked on him last night. Everything sounds good. Dave Tompkins, another one of our team members on Sidelines, be with us tomorrow. Lives in the low country in South Carolina. He said, fortunately, they were spared. The yards messed up a little bit. Storm went mainly north of them, but our prayers are with everybody in the path of that storm. Still hadn't heard from our man Shoney down in Valdosta since yesterday, so I don't know if they even have power or phone lines in Valdosta. We're here 6 days a week, folks. 25 shows a month, 300 shows a year. We're not part-time podcasting and radio, and we are full-time, and we're in it to win it. That's what we do. Let's bring in Dudley Dawson. And Dudley, man, that was a lot of fun yesterday here in Houston Nutt. He's not going to be on CBS this year. He's going to be back home. Can't wait to go to – I'd never been to a tailgate, but, that doesn't surprise me because I think from when he finished college, he was a GA, and then he's been coaching, or as he said for the last few years, 22 weekends a year he's in New York for college football. But it's a lot of sacrifice. But, man, the game starts tonight. We got Florida at Utah, Arkansas in Little Rock at War Memorial, right by the zoo Saturday. It feels like fall this morning, so what's not to like?
Telling you, I'm looking forward to it. The football on the air tonight, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. All very good college games. Looking forward to it, although disappointed that Utah appears isn't going to have their quarterback, Cameron Rising, tonight. But I'm sure that's going to be a good game. It certainly was last year. I actually watched a replay of that game last year, just trying to get some football in my veins,
Yeah. I agree. And Dudley, you can't help but think about college football, about great food. Johnny Haygood, one of our listeners from Eufaula, lives in Montgomery, texted me some stuff this morning about going and hitting places. Great. We love all these dives and these kind of off the beaten path places. The first place that comes to my mind is Craig's Barbecue in Devall's Bluff, Arkansas, over there on Highway 70 between Bisco and Hazen. And I just, you got to know where these places are. I love that lean sliced pork loin barbecue and the pie lady. They still make the pies over there, but give me a couple of your off the beaten path places for Razorback fans, or even just fans of other teams that are going to see the Razorbacks up in Fayetteville or Little Rock and their team. But where would you recommend people go? And then we're going to talk some serious college football, but I'm thinking of food because I'm fasting until noon.
Well, I'll tell you, one of my favorites back in the day, when before we got the big highway, 540 up here, 49, I guess it's called now, was Mountain Burger.
Yes.
In Mountain Burger, Arkansas. And we'd go through there, and they were similar to taco burgers that I used to get at the Taco Hut in Newport, but loved going through there. And then, it's I have to point out Wright's Barbecue up here in Herman's, two of my go-tos up here that have great food, and and just come out of there happy and full.
Yeah.
And that's the way to be.
Yeah, no better way. All right, Razorbacks 48 hours away from start of the college football season, and we've been breaking down. I mean, I learn so much every time you're on here talking about the Hogs. Let's get an idea of where they stand. I mean, you have limited views of practice, but it all starts up front, offensive, defensive lines. Who was a breakout player on offense and defense that you see this year really stepping up?
Well, I think that last year he came in and was injured, but I think he's really going to have a good year this year. Isaiah Satega, the young man from here in Fayetteville, who, when he was a senior in high school, led the nation in yards and in catches, and just had a big year. I think he's going to be a force this year. I think they're going to get the ball to him in a lot of different ways. He's also been named the kick returner. He returned one for 100 in one of the scrimmages, supposedly. We can see it.
Supposedly.
But I think he's going to be the breakout guy on offense. I think a lot of the other guys that that we know. I mean, obviously you get your guy Patrick Curtis. Is going to get a start in offensive line. There are a lot of known quantities, some unknown quantities in that wide receiver core. Although the biggest, when a basketball game breaks out at War Memorial on Saturday, they're going to be loaded with wide receivers who can go down and post up low. But on defense, I really feel like this is Christopher Paul's year to really break out. He's been waiting in the wings, had some great linebackers ahead of him that made great plays, but he's always shown that potential, and I think he's going to be the leading tackler on this team this year and just have a fantastic season. Yeah,
I was watching something came out on X last night. That's what Twitter was. It's now X, about McTelvin Agim I think he was born in Texarkana, but he went to Hope High School, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. He was a 5-star, obviously the number one player in the state of Arkansas, one of the top 15 players in the country. Plays for the Colts now, defensive end. Got anybody like that on this defensive line?
Well, I think that the guys like that on the defensive line have all transferred in here. John Morgan, some other guys that really have had good camps. That's one of the things I've been saying on here for quite a while now. Mm-hmm. Is that they knew that the defensive line was not where it needed to be last year. They were overpowered on the defensive line. Deke Adams and the other coaches brought got a lot of guys in here. Were able to really fill those gaps. They looked the part. They looked like they had depth. We're going to see as they move into SEC play. But it's you really when you don't have the season that you want to, you immediately kind of give it that autopsy and try to figure out how you can get better. One of the biggest things that they thought was defensive line. I think a lot of people thought that, and they went out and really plugged in some guys there. Again, I point out that the guys that might have started for you this year are their backups now, and that is one of the ways that you get better. You go over recruit what you have on campus, or at least you try to each year.
Yeah, and another figure, two things that you always talk about. I love having you on because you've got that mechanical engineer type of mind. You put things in structure, and it's easier to follow that way. It really is. It's a compliment. But you talk about the first 44 of the Razorbacks the last few years. They're pretty damn good, okay? It's 45 to 85. Let's get a progress report from, again, limited what you know. I mean, you and I are both old enough to remember there is nothing in Chernobyl. It is a beautiful day. Birds are singing. It is sunny. No problem. And we all know what happened at Chernobyl. You had people that glowed in the dark and were born years later with gills and dorsal fins. So you got to trust what you trust. But 41 new players out of high school and the portal at Arkansas. Are they going to help? A lot of those guys going to be in that first 44, I'm sure, but a lot of them going to give you more depth, 45 to 85, you think?
Yeah. Here's something I talked to Mineral Springs head coach Jason Hadcock. He's a guy that went down there and turned that high school program around in 1 year. They were winless, had 7 wins last year, and his numbers are limited, just 29 guys out. But he said, I think I have 15 or 16 that I'm certain of starters. Well, I look at this Arkansas team, kind of transferring it over there. I look at this Arkansas team, and I think there are 60 good candidates to start in different positions. That was not what I thought, previously. I'm still going to see how they, play against the SEC competition and even, Division I competition. But I see more people that I think are competent to go out there, make plays, win big football games than they used to.
That is the significant that you say that. That's an extra 15. And again, the portal. Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, spoke Monday night at the Touchdown Club in Memphis. And folks, wherever you live, join your Touchdown Club. They support college football. I mean, think about it. Every week at lunch or dinner, you get to hang out with a bunch of people that love talking about college football. You get great speakers. We had a great meal the other night. It was fantastic. And in the evening, have you a couple of cold road sodas. But Tony Barnhart talked about the portal. He said, coaches will tell you they hate it, but they really love it. Guys have always transferred, and you are really good with numbers and trends. I study them for a living in this and financial markets. Tell me this. There were always guys transferring, but was it more secretive? Like, I don't want anyone to know that I'm not playing. Now, I don't know if they want it to be public, but it's almost like you go to the portal, people forget that you quit. You see where I'm going?
It is a professional model now, in the fact that not only do you go out and acquire talent from other schools, but you also waive them at your school. People who, you used to have to keep a guy on scholarship for 4 years and just suck it up if you made a recruiting mistake. Well, now, not just here, but all over the SEC and all over college football, you have a discussion with that athlete about how you're not going to play here. You might want to go find someplace you play. And I'm sure there's much better flowery language than I'm using right now. But what you have is full-on professional football model in college football right now. And if you're not getting it done, they encourage you to move on. I mean, Arkansas brought in 17 different portal transfers this year. You ended up having 38 new players overall after a couple got out of here that saw they weren't going to play. I mean, they got right back in the portal. Just bounced in, bounced out of the portal. But it's one of those things that, whether it's better for the sport or not, I'll wait and evaluate it down the line. If you take a snapshot, then you oftentimes don't get the full picture album or full photo album back the way. And I just think that it's turned into a professional model. I think there are things I like about that, things that I don't. But as I turn 60, as I did yesterday, and have the new kids get out of my yard thing, I still, I'm an old school guy, but I do love some of the things that have come into the sports world. I'm not going to sit out here and just be angry all the time.
Yeah, look, it's like Tony said, college football is going to change after this year, but it's still going to be the greatest game. Even the adults can't mess it up. It's going to be different, but it was different in the 50s when they started putting putting games on TV. But it was really different in 1984 when they put all the games on TV. And every time people try to predict and write the narrative, people aren't going to the games. They forget we are social animals. So a lot of people went crazy during these draconian lockdowns during the pandemic. I mean, stay home, stay alone, stay safe, but go broke safely. I mean, can't do that. You got to, be smart. I mean, people instinctively know, hey, take care of yourself, or you should. But I look at college football and the interest. Look at these crowds. I mean, I'm bouncing off the wall because we're heading down to Auburn after the show. And, we're playing, Auburn's playing UMass. And everybody, why are you going to that game? I'm like, I'm not going to see UMass. I am going to watch Auburn. And the same thing with all the Razorback fans that will be up, in Little Rock. And they used to play 2 or 3 games a year there. And I think this is it for Little Rock. So you want to see the Hogs play? Again, I'm sure that place will be packed, and they're not going to see Western Carolina.
Right. Even though I think Western Carolina is going to be entertaining. Kerwin Bell, the former Florida quarterback and your NFL vet, he's their head coach. Listen to his press conference on Monday. He's very entertaining, very energetic. And as he said, he went in there and he knows that he has talent. His talent is just 5'5", 5'7", 6 foot. whereas Arkansas is a 6'1", 240, 6'5", 310. But he's excited about the game. They had the opportunity. They got blown out in Oklahoma 76-0 2 years ago. Then played Georgia Tech last year. It was a much closer game. It feels like they're closing the gap, even though he realizes that Georgia Tech is nowhere near the football team Oklahoma was in those 2 years. But I do feel that you have everybody goes into the season feeling great about it. In the Arkansas thing, this is indeed their only game there this year, and the next one is 2025 against Arkansas State. At least that's what's set up. Now, I hope that they play it. I want it to be played. I've always liked that. But we'll see with this new schedule they have coming in. I hope they're able to continue to play it. But with Oklahoma and Texas coming in, we'll see how things play out.
Yeah, I do think that Arkansas State will do a lot to just fuel interest within the state. When the Razorbacks are good, it's good for high school football. More kids want to go out. They want to be on the team. I was talking with Houston Nutt yesterday about one of my favorite players ever, Weston Dacus, walk-on out of Searcy. I mean, just a true, tough grit, loves the Razorbacks, would give his last breath for the Razorbacks. And here's another kid, a pretty damn good linebacker, a coach's son, Wyatt Simmons, committed to the Hogs a couple of weeks ago, was recruited by a lot of schools.
Ironically, that's where I'm going to be Friday night. I'm going to be watching Harding Academy in Camden, Harmony Grove, that game on Friday night. Looking forward to watching him play. And Harding Academy's always had a great program.
Yeah, and it's funny how Tommy Tuberville was in 2 weeks ago today, actually the 16th of August, was over in Cherry Valley at ECS House Industries with our good friend Chad House, ECS House Industries, who sponsors this Razorback Report. And he was with the Arkansas Rice Pack, which is pretty powerful lobbying group. With you bring in producers and Riceland, but came over there and they said he had a blast. I mean, he's a senator from Alabama, but he's from Camden, Arkansas. He talks all the time about, as a kid, going up to Little Rock. And that was a big deal to go call the Hogs up there in the stadium. And you know what, Dudley, I think when people during the offseason, people get distracted. It's like laying in bed, when your alarm goes off and continuing to hit the snooze button. Nothing happens when you're doing that. It's probably the most negative time of your day. You're never going to win a fight laying on your back. You got to get on your feet. And Coach Nutt said yesterday, this is my favorite time of year. Everybody's undefeated. He goes, and this is when I just wish I had a team to go out there and coach. You're at 73 of the 200 schools in Arkansas, high schools that play football. And they're going to keep moving the goalpost. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. They're going to keep adding more schools as you go along. And eventually it'll be 210 and 225. But I like that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them play Friday night. I've been out to some scrimmages, but I'm looking forward to real games. As I think I said here last week, games where you don't keep score. They're not really games. They're just practices. And I don't want to talk about practice anymore. I want to talk about games.
Yeah. And it's funny. And, you look at the Razorbacks now. This is year 4, the Fighting Pittmans. Sam Pittman is getting that cult of personality aura like Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz would be on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson doing magic tricks. Sam Pittman's idea of the perfect day. I mean, you can't beat it. And let's be honest, there's a lot of people out there, they won't admit it. They can't handle it, but that's what a lot of people can get up. My wife needs to help me. I got this fancy copy machine, hour and 15 minutes, figure it out. I'll take her to, get some coffee or whatever. But just and you're around him. I'm not. I've been around him just a few times. He can ramp it up, but a coach like that, Dudley, okay, he's cool. We love him, but if you come to practice and you're not ready, I think he would replace you real fast and go, look, we're gonna have some fun, but we're here to win. Yeah, I think they know that.
Both those coaches you mentioned, Coach Nutt and Coach Pittman, as I told you yesterday, Coach Nutt's just a good dude. So is Coach Pittman. There's a big thing here last night. Arkansas's volleyball team, which is ranked number 21 in the country, played number 1 Wisconsin. Eric Musselman was over at the Barnett Hill early on, getting the volleyball girls breakfast and all that, and wishing them well. And then both him and Coach Pittman, who did his Catfish Hole radio show last night, were both in attendance and stayed to the end of that 5-set match that Arkansas lost 15-13 in the final set. That's been one thing that definitely has been a characteristic of the guys that athletic director Hunter Yurchek and got men and women, that coaches that he's brought in. They support the other programs. That wasn't necessarily always the case. I think that they're much more sociable here now. They understand social media. Certainly, Coach Musselman does, and that was good to see last night. I think 4,299 fans at a volleyball game, which you never would have, thought about back in the day. Of course, Nebraska's out here having 92,000 because they played in their football stadium. But
what was that? People are blowing up my phone, going, "There must be absolutely nothing to do in Nebraska." I'm like, there is a lot to do in Nebraska. They've got.
They wanted to set a record for women's sports attendance, and they put it out there in the football field, and probably some people thought there was a football game going on, but they've been a great college volleyball team and had a lot of support. But that was just nuts, and people were tailgating for volleyball and all that last night in Nebraska, and there is a lot to do in Nebraska, but there's also that mentality is similar to what we have here in this state, in that that's their pro team. And so it was the thing to do last night.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. Let's do this. I want to take a quick commercial break and get back into this, because I thought that was a joke. 92,000. I mean, no one even, they have set a record that, well, you know what? You put one rat in the cage, no, nothing happens. You put 2 in there, that testosterone goes up. Let's see what competition is the best thing that can happen. Hey, we got Dudley Dawson, hogville.net, to all of our listeners, and we got them all over the country and all over the world. Thank you for tuning in. It means a lot to us. You can send in your questions if you're watching on YouTube, or text. I get tons of text during the game and during the show, so I've got a bunch of questions for Dudley right after this commercial break on Thursday's edition of Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Dudley, one of the great things about this show, one of my friends, one of our listeners, Mike Brennan, up in New York for a few days for the U.S. Open. And I said, hey, man, he's very tech savvy, and he's got his daughter, Lucy, who's down at Auburn in a really strong campus ministry. She's going to be down there for the next couple of years. I'll see her when we get to Auburn tomorrow. So I said, hey, you're in New York City for a couple of days. He goes, yeah, I'm heading to the U.S. Open. And I'm like, hey, can you StreamYard in tomorrow for, about a 5-minute segment, kind of an update? Dave Tompkins will be on here with us, talk tennis for a minute. He goes, I'll try. I'm going to be on a yacht, so I don't know. Brennan, it's a great life, but you work harder than a dozen Mennonite farmers. So hopefully we can do that. But trying to get people, I love that excuse. I'll be on a yacht. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, well, the closest I get to a yacht is listening to Yacht Rock Radio on Sirius.
Yes. Yes.
The late 70s, early 80s music that, I just thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, well, I love the guy. Yacht Rock Radio. Winthorpe, Muffy, and I were at the Peninsula Club listening. You know who the patron saint of Yacht Rock Radio is, don't you? Kenny, no, Christopher Cross.
Oh, yeah,
every other song. It's like, oh,
yes.
my God, Right, got some questions here for you, all right? And first one is about the Razorbacks defensive backs. Marcus Woodson, I know I've talked a lot about him. Is an excellent defensive backs coach. Who were some guys that have really stood out, maybe people aren't familiar with in the Razorback secondary?
Well, I think
to this point.
Al Walcott is one of the guys that probably should be mentioned first. He was a second-team All-SEC pick. He's the guy from Baylor that had a great season last year. They got a couple back from Baylor. There's a young freshman that's come in and played really well, and he. I think when I look at that group overall, I see guys that are with a higher ceiling. I think I've said this in a couple of positions, a higher ceiling. There's more of them. Again, you have guys that played last year or didn't play that were hurt that will be backups this year. Hudson Clark, is a guy that's gotten a lot of praise, a lot of angst over the time he's been here. But he and Jaden Johnson, who's a guy that's been here but has really improved, he's up to about 215 now, have been vying for that safety spot. Maybe Hudson Clark is going to be the utility guy back there to be able to play all the spots. But they brought in several players from different programs that have really, looking out at it, it appears that not only should they be better with the talent they brought in, but with the mentality they brought in, and also the fact that if somebody goes down and gets hurt, you're not going to have to just throw somebody in there that's, is not any good, to be honest about it.
Yeah. Another one here, Razorbacks running backs. We all know about Raheem Sanders you got me right the other day, Rockledge, Florida. Pretty damn good high school football they play down there. He's 6'2.5", 243, and runs a sub 4.5 40. And there's a question here, and it says, outside of Rocket, how deep is this running back room, and how does it compare with the previous 3 years under Coach Sam Pittman?
Well, I think that they've got 5 guys that are going to play back there this year, and really the 5th guy right now is Dominique Johnson, who's at 252 pounds, but it's a good 252 pounds.
Yeah.
He's going to be the guy in the short yardage situations if they need him. This is a guy who was their lead back at one point during his freshman season, and he would be your 5th guy right now. I think that obviously Rocket, will get the start, and as long as he's hot, he'll get the majority of carriage. Rashad Dominion is a guy who obviously had a big play in the Liberty Bowl and had a lot of nice, yardage both in the rushing game and passing last year. AJ Green, is one of the fastest guys there, and he'll be used in the various situations. So they're loaded right there, and just able to get a lot done. And again, a situation where if God forbid somebody got hurt, you're not going to drop off. But there's a reason that Rocket is considered the first, either number 1 or number 2 running back in the SEC. So you want him upright and playing a lot.
Yeah. Another question, quarterback. KJ Jefferson getting a lot of attention. He came back. He could have left. I think he is going to be loved forever by the Razorback fan base. But beyond KJ, question is, how deep are we in the quarterback room, and who would be your choice if something happened to KJ, if he gets hurt? I mean, he's going to be obviously games when you're way ahead, I'm sure. So somebody's going to come in and get a lot of reps. Who's that going to be?
Well, it's definitely Jacoby Criswell, a young man from Morrilton who went to North Carolina at the start.
Yeah.
Didn't come here because Chandler Morris was coming here, when Chad Morris was the head coach. So Jacoby Criswell is the solid second backup right now. You've also got Cade Fortin, who played a lot of games last year. Malachi Singleton is a freshman who came in here. It may be any other year he might be pushing to start because of the talent. Yeah. He's got size, speed, and all that. But I suspect that he'll play in 4 games this year. and red shirt, so he can have that extra year down the line. And then you've got a couple other walk-on guys that are here that they're fine. Again, a situation, and that's why I told you that I'm up into 60 people this year that I think can contribute and really help this team. Another spot, another position where they have built it up from where it used to be.
The Dan Enos factor. Wherever he's been, I've noticed he develops the 2 and the 3 quarterbacks really well. That was a good question by one of our listeners. And I think about he's back at Arkansas. Dan Enos, what is it that makes him such a damn effective coach wherever it doesn't matter where he is, he's effective in a positive way?
I think the 2 biggest things are he's very relatable to these guys. He gets his point across. It's a lot easier if the whole group is on one page. If everybody knows what they're supposed to do. There's not going to be a tight end running in on a play at the 1 yard line, like there was at Missouri. They know that the plays that are going to be sent in are going to be ones that could be successful, not surprising. And I think that that is one thing, that communication. The other thing is absolute consistency, doing the same thing the right way every time, whether it's in practice or a game. And you can have fun and do a lot of things at practice. But when you're tired late in ball games, you're going to throw an interception if your wide receiver's not where you're supposed to be, if your running back's not getting the block, if your offensive line ahead and sit. I think the consistency of them doing everything right until you get it right, and it's just second nature. I mean, I think Coach Pittman had something the other day that said, "Do you want to be able to do this where you could do it in the dark?" And because you knew you're so well trained with your mind. And I think he brings that in. And I am a big fan of the tight ends. Have always been, for college football, high school, all that. And Luke Haas, Gums, the other guys that they've had transfer in here, he's going to use those 2 tight end sets. I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. I like open, and passing and all that. But again, I grew up, in Newport and played for Bill Keedy. And our passing attack was very balanced. We threw 1 time to the right, 1 time to the left, and 1 time over the middle, and just handed the ball off to Billy Warren all the other times. So, I really think that he's going to do a great job. His last offense, had over 5,000 yards. One of, I think, the 2 or 3 best offensive things with Brandon Allen, who is back in the news lately. 8 years now, he will be a quarterback in the NFL. Like 2 more years, and you get a big-time pension that comes with it. But he's now with San Francisco after backing up Joe Burrow, and was in the news a lot last week when Trey Lance got traded to Dallas, and he was named their number 3 quarterback. Hey, number 3 quarterback in the NFL, I'll take a job right away, right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think 5 years in, and I'm going to ask that to Ben Troop because Ben's going to be on at the top of hour number 2 with Matt Dean. John Hartwell, normally on the AD angle, talked to him last night. He was getting home. You think an athletic director's job ain't tough? He was getting home. It was about 9:37 p.m. We were talking. He was just getting home from work down at ULM. And Ben's going to join us. I'm going to ask, but I think it's 5 years in, you get that pension, but I think you get it at 50 or 55. And I'll tell you one, Shane Matthews, 14 years in the NFL as a quarterback. And, man, you can accumulate a lot of money. Shane's a smart guy. He's on, a lot with Buddy Martin down in Gainesville. But I think you just said it. Dan Enos is relatable. And Gary Harris, hopefully you can stay on with us, is going to be on with us in just a minute from Tuscaloosa. He just texted me. He's almost to the radio station. He's trying to get in there so he can broadcast live from his studio. But before Gary gets on, I want to make sure you do this. Let people know how they can follow you. So if you have to tag out suddenly, I know you got a lot happening right now. They can dial in because I got a lot of Razorbacks that watch, follow, and listen. And I got a lot of new ones that said, Dudley, Dawson, I need to know more about Dead Sports.
Well, Hogville is our website. We're very excited right now about everything going on. Softball practice started this week. Baseball practice starts September 8th. As I mentioned, volleyball, but football. Football is the king, and it gets fired up this weekend. We'll have 4 stories and a lot of other stuff from the game. Hawkville.net, the fearlessfriday.com. The shirt I have on here right now is our high school site. I've been pumping out some stories there. Excited about what's going on in the high school ranks here, and then Dead Sports is it's a play on my name, Dudley Eugene Dawson, named after my uncle Eugene. At least the middle name, and a cartoon character, of course, Dudley.
Dudley Do Right.
Sports, DED Sports, not DEAD Sports, not yet. Dead Sports, and what I used to call Twitter, I guess they used to call Twitter, and they call X now. Whatever. Just whatever. I post stuff on there, and it's usually, hey, how about I turned 60 yesterday. How about I got to go to sleep when I was last day at 59 with the Cardinal walk-off win, and yesterday the Cardinal walk-off win. That's a good 2 days. Now the rest of the season sucked, but at least they had those 2 days.
Yeah, and look, I got to say this: Cardinal Nation, Braves Nation, Braves Country, Cardinal Nation. Those are our bookends where most of our listeners are. We're located in Memphis. We're all over the place because when you talk about sports in the SEC, it reverberates all over the country. But Cardinals, 11 World Series titles, only Major League Baseball franchise with more the New York Yankees. Now, St. Louis, they got to turn it around, but that's pretty commonplace around Memphis, and where we are is Razorback, Cardinals. The color's a little bit different shades of red, but Busch Stadium, one of the cathedrals in all of sports, as is Tuscaloosa, Bryant-Denny Stadium. Gary Harris probably been up since 5, probably got home. What time did you do the 10 o'clock news? Don't you?
I get home a little after 11, usually get to bed about 1, try to get up about 7 or so. But
you are
some mornings I'm dragging.
Hey, look, man, I know it's game week, man, and it doesn't matter. It's Middle Tennessee, and everybody wants to know, and I talked with Rodney Orr Tuesday about this, but Dudley and I were talking. Everybody wants to know who the long snapper is going to be starting for Alabama.
Well, I tell you that Neelan Hibbett's got that job. There you go. He's good to go there now. Neelan Hibbett's there's no controversy. There's no competition at snapper. But you're right. It's time to play a game. I mean, I'm worn out. I don't know how you guys feel, but I mean, we've always anticipated the season and we've always talked about it. But I know growing up and even after starting in broadcasting, you anticipated the season, but you would wait for those preseason magazines to come out and you'd read them. But you kind of, during, June, July, and even into August, I mean, you got to break from it a little bit. And now it's just constant analysis, man. It's just, you're so ready for a game, and anyone that wants to, and that's, hey, listen, I'm not criticizing. I mean, it's just the way it is. You got technology. Anybody can start a show or a podcast or, put out an opinion. So you just never get a break from it. And this stuff with the quarterback deal at Alabama, at some point you just want to say on my show, I just want to say, hey, listen, I think Milroe's is going to be the starter, but, outside of that, we'll just have to wait and see. So play the game. I mean, I'm just ready. I'm ready to play a game. And at least after that, then next week we'll have something to look at. And as we get ready for Texas, at least have a game in the coffers and can kind of move on from all of the preseason, just stuff that, Nick Saban comes out and depth chart Monday becomes no depth chart Monday. And I get it. I mean, you're used to getting one, but as I've said before, if you cover a team, even if you don't get to go to practice, there's only a few positions that are up for grabs anyway. And it gotten to where on the depth chart, you knew who the starters were. And then the spots where there were questions were usually so-and-so or so-and-so, so-and-so or so-and-so. And so, I mean, what do you really know? So I think, again, this is a case where media wants to feel disrespected to some degree. And, Tim Brando came out and called Nick Saban a bully because he didn't give out a depth chart. I mean, come on, man. I just didn't get that worked up about it. I mean, we're going to find out on Saturday, but that's just where we're at. So I'm ready for some games, and we get some starting tonight. So thank goodness.
Yeah, and there's 12 months in a year, and I can find something good to say about every month, but I can find a lot more to say bad about August. It's hot. It's just practice. It's not games. The anticipation's there. You just got to get through the month. It's always a deal. Obviously this is the last day. I'll be watching football tonight and be watching it from here on out. I mean, there'll be a game on my TV every day for the rest of the year. Now, some of them won't be live. I'll be watching tape and stuff, but I will be watching games, from here on out. And, Allen Iverson is, that thing. We're talking about practice. I'm tired of talking about practice.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And Gary, when we look at it, and I heard that, Monday night coming back from the Touchdown Club in Memphis, Tony Barnhart had been there. It was a great night. And then I hear on ESPN on a national show, and they're talking about the depth chart thing. And Nick Saban said, you guys think this thing's written in stone. It's not. It's very fluid. And you've seen, and Dudley and you could take the top 10 sound bites from when we all started covering sports in college or whatever, and y'all got way more experience than me, but those sound bites are relevant today. We're excited about the season. Everybody's had a great offseason. The guys have worked real hard. You ever heard a coach come in and go, man, these guys look like, a bunch of just chewed up bubble gum. They are overweight. Most of them, just look terrible. You're not going to hear that. But so how do you, Gary, pull away from the comments? You're pretty good at dissecting them, I bet.
Well, it's like you were saying, Rob, this right now, other than the teams that played a game in week 0 that lost, everybody's undefeated and it's best case scenario. And you're right. Coaches never come in and give you the worst case scenario. They're trying to be positive with their team. Fans are positive, and everybody feels good going into the season. But everyone's not going to win. And even when you're covering a top tier program like I am with Alabama, you understand after last year, even though it was just 2 losses, that team did not reach what was expected of it. Preseason number 1, and it came up short and didn't make the playoff, and that led to more questions this year with the quarterback in particular, but other position groups that there are questions. Probably starting a freshman at left tackle, even though he's big and talented. He's never played a college football game. So, I think you've just got to, look at it for what it is. And most of us that are in this business, and I know Dudley and you, Rob, we're old enough that I think we can do that. Now, is there a younger generation of journalists who grew up as a fan and is allowed to be a fan even as they get started because of who they work for? That's happening now. You're always kind of a fan of the team you cover, but I think most of us in our age range grew up at a time where you were taught to remove your fandom, and you could do it. It's like when I sit in the press box, they have that little sign up there saying no cheering allowed in the press box. But I'm built that way. Even though I can, you just don't do it. But I'm in press boxes now, and I see people, that they can hardly hold themselves back. I've even seen a couple people removed from a press box. And so we're in a time and place now where everyone can't do that. They can't look at their team that they cover objectively. They just can't do it. And they don't have to, because they work for a site. Some of these sites, that's what they encourage. They don't want people to give news that's objective. They want you to give news that is going to lead to more subscriptions or more hits on your website. And sometimes when you do that, the perspective that you get from some of these people is just skewered. It's not objective, and we're all impacted by our biases. But when I look at a team and break down a season, I'm trying to be honest with myself and see where this team is at now and where it could go. And sometimes, you're not looking at it and saying this team's going to go undefeated. You look at it and you say this team's probably going to lose a couple of games. And I just think that's where people that have experience and been doing it for a long time are different from some of the younger people and some of the fans. And people now sometimes get offended. I cover Alabama, so if I don't, if I say something that's not in line with what they're thinking, they'll call up and say, well, I can't believe you're a sportscaster for Alabama and you said Alabama wasn't going to win. Well,
I readily admit.
Great point.
Yeah, I readily admit that I worked for Coach Richardson and Coach Sutton back in the day, and when I first got it, out of school and was working and covering them, it was kind of hard to separate it. But as you go along, and 40 years now or whatever it's been, somewhere around in there, you learn that the number one thing as a journalist to me is not to be liked, it's to be respected. And one of the things that I think that I've been doing this long enough that, we had practice access for you could go to every practice, watch every minute. That's certainly what itself down. But the key thing I think for guys like us who've been around it, you got to know who to trust over there. You got to, develop sources. You can't have somebody over there who gets excited when the backup quarterback completes a pass. You got to hear from them. You got to hear the bad stuff. You got to hear the good stuff. You got to go through it and you relay it to them. And again, I think that they're being liked is overvalued or whatever. I just want people to listen, and when I say something or relate something, that I've done it from talking to the right people, and because I've done it the right way over the years, people trust me, and I don't say stupid. It's important not to say stupid stuff too.
Yeah. Well, you understand too that this is a generation where now for some, there's nothing off the record, and some of this I'll put on coaches too. That if you're talking with, like Dudley says, if you're talking with someone that isn't trusted and hasn't done it right, and you tell them something, then it gets out, that's on you. So
correct.
But I still come from a time if I'm talking to somebody on the phone and he's giving me some information and he says, now listen, I don't want you to make sure if you use this, you use it in a way that, you can't be connected back to me. And you can use that information without revealing how you got it and without exposing anyone. And there may be sometimes, though, as we know, that they'll say point blank, listen, I'm telling you this for your benefit. But if you say this, people are going to know where you got it because, there's only 2-3 people that know this. And so don't use it. And you don't use it. You know it and you're watching for it because you've been tipped off to it, but you know what to use and what not to use. And like Dudley said, that's just over time and experience and the trust factor. And when you do it right like that for a long time, you'll get people that will tell you things and they'll know that you'll handle it with care.
Yeah. And I was texting, Alan Gates this morning, one of my sponsors, supporters of the members of the Club 250, lifelong Alabama fan. And I worked for Duncan Williams, for 12 years, Duncan, Alabama. And I'm like, with friends like y'all, it's hard for me to pull against Alabama, except in the Iron Bowl. You'd have to understand, and Dudley knows this, this, I remarried. My wife is a Vol for life. And then the oldest, Mallory, she's an Alabama graduate. And then Hallie Wilson and Maggie, all Auburn. So, and we're going down to Orange Beach next week for a few days. And so, that's the thing about it. Y'all both get it. I remember is when they let me work in high school, David Housel and Buddy Davidson at Auburn, I got a chewing that Dan gave me chills from them. He said, let me tell you something. This is a professional working press box. You're representing, in this case, Auburn University. You name the school. When you are in here, these people are our guests. We are the host, okay? We're professionals. And you go out of your way to make that experience for them first class. But I got to meet all these great writers and stuff as a kid, but y'all are both right, that respect. You know what? Somebody tells you something that's off the record, it's off the record. So my grandfather always said, your honor is dearer than your life. You got to think like that. I'm old school, but I'm the right school. And I know both of y'all are too. We're right.
Well, I think so. I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And unfortunately, with the internet and with the apps and the sites, you are in a time where there's pressure sometimes, even for me. I've got something and I want to get it out, but I want to do it the right way. But while you're trying to figure out, how to do it, somebody else has been told the same thing and they don't hesitate. They got it in one ear and it's going out on the internet. So I've been, there's been a lot of stuff that I've had that I sat on and later, or was asked to sit on it, maybe even by someone in the sports information department. And Dudley can probably relate to this, and you're asked to sit on it. And so you do, and well, if you give it, and then somebody else runs out there and goes with it, and you're like, what the heck, man? I did what you asked me to do, and now somebody else beats me to it, and so I'm conflicted sometimes when I get some information, how to put it out and keep that respect factor, but at the same time knowing that sometimes you're not the only one that has it, and other people aren't going to necessarily wait. They're going to get it in one ear and it's going to go out there the very next second. So
speaking of the Pacino years.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, that's the thing about it. And you look at what's going on in the media, both of y'all, when you see it, everybody wants to be first. They're not as concerned about being right. And to hell with, indenting 5 spaces to the right, punctuation and grammar. Hell, man, I took typing my sophomore year at Christian Brothers High School. Brother John Michael, the man was 8 feet tall, 400 pounds. If you looked at the keys, he would warn you, don't look at the keys, you boob. And if you did it again, you don't look at the keys, you jackass. He'd grab you by the back of your hair out of your chair, and you might be typing with your nose, but you know what? You didn't look at the keys. I think we were better writers as a group when you all grew up with typewriters, with the ball that moved around, because you thought about what you were doing. That's the difference. That's why both of y'all are so damn good at what you do is because, and this isn't saying it, but I've just watched y'all's work. You're on this show because everybody came and said, you got to get Gary and you got to get Dudley. I mean, I had Franz Beard, GatorbaitMedia.com was like, you need to get Dudley Dawson on your show. And multiple people told me about you, Gary. Good God. And that didn't happen because you're known as leaking information or whatever. And you're right. When you're a news reporter, when I was, sometimes the police would come and say, could you please sit on this? We've got an active investigation. And if this gets out, the other person we're trying to get will know. And you have to, you know what? You just got to use good judgment.
Well, I've said a long time, I've been saying for a long time that I got degrees in journalism and political science, major in journalism, minor in political science from the University of Arkansas, and I'm disappointed at what both have become.
Yeah, it's tough, Gary.
Yeah, it's I'm talking about putting stuff out too. The difference now is that, years ago, if you, like you said, your name was attached to something and it was incorrect, that stayed with you. It followed you. And now people put stuff out, not really concerned about whether it's right or wrong, because the page is quickly turned, and, more people are just interested in being first than they are being right. And if they're wrong, forget it. 5-6 tweets later or posts later, they've moved on to the next topic. So, but that's the world we live in, and we still have a choice. I'm an old school television broadcaster, and I've watched TV change, stuff that we air now. And I'm not talking about necessarily in terms of content, it's just in terms of video quality. I mean, there's no, it's not what it once was, but it is what it is. And, you evolve and you adjust and you do it the best you can, but you understand that it's not what it once wasn't. It can't be. People don't turn on the local news anymore to get the news. I mean, they already know the news. They turn it on to get, features and analysis and what are you going to say about it and all that. But as far as just information, we're in information overload. I mean, if there's a big something that happens in the world and you don't know about it, then good for you, I guess, because it means that you don't have your phone on. Because if your phone's on and you got your phone, you're going to know it.
Well, I'll tell you something funny. Think about this, in Dudley and Gary, when you go out in the camera, white balance, your camera. You're doing a stand-up, set the damn tripod up. It might be a pain in the ass, but set it up. You don't get that shaky. Now, if you got a great photographer, or you got these cameras now for news that are balanced where there's not all that shaking, but crappy video quality, a 15-second pan, that makes people seasick. 4 to 6 seconds in a pan. And then sound bites. Don't ever let a politician take the microphone out of your hand, because you've lost control.
Yeah.
Don't give up the mic. But look, I love this discussion. Gary, you're in Tuscaloosa. I'll be heading down to Auburn and staying with Waller, May, and Susan May Veterinary Clinic. You know, the fan bases, and Gary and Dudley, y'all know this, every fan base right now is on cloud nine. But you know what they really want? They want those people that they can trust, that put the news out. I love to watch the local sports and the weather. As far as the news, no. But local sports and weather, I want to see that feature on the high school kid that's overcome the odds to be a star player, or even one that's not, who's gone through 3 or 4 years of that, just to say, I want to be part of a team, something bigger than me, because he's setting himself up for a great life. Hard work works. Those kind of features, and when Dudley writes one on somebody and you're in TV, those are what we want. And I think we got to do more of that. As far as the local news, usually it's depressing. Yeah, I don't want to hear it.
Well said. I mean, you know, there's still a place for local, I hope, going forward.
Hell yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's, you know, it's totally changed in the news aspect of things. If it leads, it leads. You know, that has always been the thing in the New York newspapers. You know, here when you watch Law and Order and all that time, I'm if it's deep, I'll read it. You know, I try to do that. You know, there's occasionally you can only, you know, if it's a 3-2 baseball game, you can only get so deep. But people, you know, there's games are on TV these days. You can, you know, they can see it now. Tell us what happened, you know, inside baseball. What happened, you know, before the game, after the game, during the game. Just not the X's and O's.
And Gary, you do the high school coverage. That's what people. Do y'all do a 30-minute show on Friday nights?
We do an hour.
Wow, there you go. There you
yeah,
see
it's,
that.
Well, you just said it, and I got to run here, but that's one thing that is still uniquely local. I mean, is high school sports. Now, don't get me wrong. There's high school networks now, and the bigger schools. Clearly, Thompson was scheduled to play IMG tonight over in Alabaster. Now, the game got canceled because IMG didn't want to come up, you know, and that was going to be on TV and going to be one of these national games. But the smaller high schools, still, their only outlet, you know, for Pickens County and Aliceville and Hale County and Greensboro and some of those schools is our show. You know, the Birmingham stations aren't going to regularly cover those schools, and certainly there's not, you know, the national networks coming down to cover a little 1A or 2A high school. So you're right. That's still something that is uniquely local to us with what we do on Friday nights with the Football Friday, our show.
And tell them how they can follow you and keep up with you. And I always think about Utah, Alabama, EUTAW. You damn right.
Yeah. At Gary Harris _WVUA on X, Twitter, whatever it is. I'm there, and I have a Facebook page, Gary Harris WVUA, and at WVUA23.com is the website. At Tide 100.9 or Tide109.com is the radio show website. So there I am. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Love having Gary Harris on here. Now, bring in Coach Matt Dean over in Memphis, Rhodes College. Proud native son of Davenport, Iowa. Hawkeye, got a son on the staff with Dan Lanning out there at Oregon, where they put on a different costume every week. We never know what they're going to look like. It's like that Rodney Dangerfield movie when his wife said she looked in her closet and she said she had nothing to wear. He goes, yeah, you got a closet full of nothing to wear. He goes, tell that to my clothier and my clothing bill. All right, Ben Troop, ESPN Coastal down there in Savannah. You've been dealing with that storm, probably been up all night. What a crazy night. Matt, Dudley disappeared. Hope Dudley will come back. I didn't zap him. But anyway, lot going on. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to be right back talking college football. There's a lot to cover. It is game day for the Gators out in Utah. Ben, for all I know, you're out there in Salt Lake City, but you're going to tell us, don't tell anybody if you are or you're not, because we don't know. But we're going to be right back. Hour number 2, Thursday's edition of Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4 City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
It's here with Gary Harris, Dudley Dawson in that first hour. Dudley with Hogville.net, Gary, and in Tuscaloosa, Channel 23 WVUA and Tide 100.9 does a daily great radio show. And we're talking about, the importance of local sports coverage. Look, hats off. There are a lot of good national guys. But when I want to know what's going on locally in high school, football, college, you still love the local sports guys and gals. Also the weather guys. The bald guy, Tim Simpson, love him. Channel 3, just recently retired. When you go through a storm with those weather people like we get around here, man, we get storm after storm after storm. You get close to those people. But I think there's always going to be a strong need. Like I told Gary Harris, he's an invaluable resource to a lot of people because you want to see coverage of those local high school teams. You still want to see the coach that's out there not making millions of dollars a year, but he's coaching because he loves the game. And when you see his players come back or her players come back, Matt, coached women's basketball years later and say, Coach, I almost hated you when you were my coach. I've had kids tell me that I'm volunteer coach for 14 years. They said, you were ruthless, Coach Rob, almost sadistic. That's my own kids telling me that. And yet when my son, I saw it last night, we were talking, Max is in town a few days from Wyoming. He just did a 43-mile race in the Tetons out in Wyoming. He said he ran 25 of it and he hiked 18 of it. I mean, he goes, but I kept thinking about what you always said. If you quit out here because this is too tough, you'll quit everything tough the rest of your life. See where I'm going? Coach Matt Dean, Ben Troop. I mean, the local coverage, high school covering Augusta on a Friday night with Ben Troop and Carlos Rogers. I mean, Ben, you had 4 of your kids you grew up with in your neighborhood played football in the SEC. I don't know 4 people that played, that I grew up. I can't say that. So got a bunch of questions. I'm ADD and OCD, and I'm on my big cup of coffee this morning. I'm pretty wound up. It's football. I'm leaving for Auburn right after the show, so I need a Valium, maybe a Demerol. I don't know. I got to calm down. But Ben, first question came in during the first hour. Do you get an NFL pension 5 years in or 10 years in? And when do you get it? In your 50s, like 50 or 55? And then we got a bunch to cover.
No, you actually get your pension. It take a long time to get it, but you get your pension if you play 3 years and 4 games. And the reason why that 4 games is very important is because if you're a fringe guy, just say you played 3 years and just say you won 3 games. No, that team that's unless you're gonna help them, they'll either cut you after the 3rd game because it's cutthroat, man. It really, really is. But I think you start getting your pension at age, I want to say either age 45 or 55. I can't remember which one it is, but those are the things that, when you're so young, you don't understand how important that is. Like the 401k, the pension, the retirement, because you're too young to really understand it. But as you get older, you appreciate, especially the world we live in now with people losing their pensions and losing their 401k. But man, the NFL is one of those leagues that, just like any other big time corporation, is what have you done for me lately? If you can't help me in the present, I will not solidify your future. I will not do it. And for those people that think it's like this, if we're winning and we're going to the playoffs and I need 2 more catches and it's 5 minutes left in the 4th quarter last game, they're going to make sure I get it. Now you switch it. I need 2 more catches and we're not going to the playoffs. They won't throw me the ball one more time because they're not going to give me the benefits of it. So it's a love-hate relationship when it comes to the league.
Yeah, interesting. Matt Dean, jump in here, man. I know you've got limited time today to be on with us, about 25 after, but I think Ben he really put it in perspective because I damn sure didn't know any of that.
Well, always good to see you, Ben, and I just have tremendous respect for the people that played in the National Football League. Not that I don't for the NBA and Major League Baseball, but like Ben is 100% right. I mean, you see like what they do to these young men. First of all, you don't know what a pension means at 22 when you come into the league, right? You don't know. I'm assuming, Ben, it also has some health benefits for you too, I think, down the road. I'm not sure, but those are things
they give you 5 years after your last game. So once your last game is over, you get 5 years after because the stats say you're going to need major surgeries 6-7 years down the line.
That's right. Once again, that 5 versus 6 and 7. But I mean, you look at the pro sports. Football has the least amount of guaranteed money. If you make it to the NBA and you get your first max deal, shit, man, you don't have to score another bucket. You're good. You got to pay me the money. In the NFL, when you sign a contract, they got that hidden money. You probably these days got to get it all in the signing bonus because over time they're going to deflate you, and they may say, hey, we're going to release you after this year, and they don't owe you that full contract. Am I right, Ben?
Everybody that laughed at Lamar Jackson going into these negotiations saying, "Oh, why does he hire an agent? Because I don't need one. I need an agent to negotiate for me when I haven't lived up to the bill." And this is my second year in the NFL. If I'm Lamar Jackson, I was the MVP of the league. I'm the reason why Joe Flacco was no longer a Raven. I'm the reason why the Ravens are in contention every single year. So when you see his 5 years, 260, people he got 260 million. No, he potentially gets that much.
That's right.
He got 186. I want to say guaranteed 72 million to sign. What I learned in the NFL is this: you have to. The two things you need in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. You need an agent and you need a financial advisor.
Yes.
The agent gets you the money. The financial advisor keeps you the money, and anything else is extra. And the thing about it is, look at the running back situation. They don't want to pay him because your best years is when you first come into the league, when you 22, 23. So God forbid when I'm showing you, because no one's the same player at year 10 they was at year 1. I get it.
Right.
But I hope I'm better at year 10 than I am at year 1. My money might not be a reflection of it, but that's why the quarterbacks are like pitchers. They're so rare. You're paying them for how rare they are, not necessarily for how good they are. And that's why Kirk Cousins is the best football story you're ever going to see. Since he left, he played 3 years on his rookie deal, got drafted with RG3. His last 2 years in Washington, he did a franchise tag twice. And he goes, man, I kind of like this guaranteed money. Did he go to Minnesota? Since he's been in Minnesota, he's only played for guaranteed contracts. People go, well, he only signed 3 years, $90 million. That's $90 million guaranteed.
That's right.
And that's the leverage that I hope most players start realizing is, don't give me 5 years. It's only a 3-year deal. Give me the 3. I'll take 3 years, 40 if it's going to be all guaranteed compared to saying 3 years, 100 when it's only 40 anyway. So that's the financial literacy part about the NFL is what they use against you. They know they'll say, hey, man, young men do young men things. They spend a lot of money really, really fast because you care about looking like something to people that don't matter anyway. As you get older, and this is in life, the less you care about it. I mean, the nicest houses in the nicest neighborhood drive regular vehicles. They don't drive $100,000 cars. And that's the part to where I say the richest, the wealthiest people, they don't look like wealth. They don't wear their wealth on their neck, around their wrists. Yes, they may fly on a helicopter, but they own the helicopter company. So they have to, they own the thing. So all I'm saying is when it comes to that part, you need more Rand Carthons of the world. You need more guys that want to run the team than play. Yeah. Because if I run the team, I get to hire everybody, coach, everybody. But I mean, I have no regrets when it came to the league, man. I really, really enjoyed Kevin Carter, who was one of my favorite players, teammates. Obviously, he went to Florida. He's a lot older than me. He said, Ben, you got to read between the lines. You got to see what they're really trying to tell you. because they're trying to tell you. So Floyd Reese, the GM that drafted me, my rookie year, you know, I'm trying to figure out life. I'm upstairs talking to him all the time, talking to him about this, talking to him about that. And I said, what's the hardest thing about football? He said, the hardest thing about football is the hardest thing about life. He said, sustainability. It is the hardest thing you're ever going to do. Yeah. Because once you show me the level you can play at, I don't expect nothing less. That's what people don't get. You've shown me this. Yeah. But you practice like that. So now when I'm getting a chance to talk to football players and coaches, I tell coaches, be real coaches. They like high school coaches, they say, what does that mean? I don't care about the wins and losses. If you got 20 seniors, every last one of them should get a shot to go to college. That's a real coach now. Because they're doing for you what you need them to do for you. You're making more money, more prestige. You make it. I mean, high school coaches making 6 figures just to coach, depending on what. And I'm not counting their money. They've earned that. And when I tell players, I say, boy, you better use football and like a sponge and wring it all out. Because they're going to get every ounce from you. They're going to get everything from you. And coach going to say this when you leave. He's going to say, hey, man, holler at me if you need anything. And once that door closes, it will not open again. Because that's what coach is supposed to say. Man, holler at me if you need anything. I said the only way coach going to do for you, if when your playing days are over, can you help him still look good? Can he take a picture next to you and it means something? And that's what and I'm not mad at the coach now. Ron Zook will do anything for me. Because I can still do something for him. I'm not asking if I say, Ron, could you give me could you write me something on my resume? I'm not asking him for anything. Yeah. Do I think Ron Zook will give me some money if I need it? Yeah, but it depends on the amount. but the whole thing about it is too, you know, we have a track record. So when he looked back, when me and him was together, I helped him. He helped me way more than I helped him now. Make no mistake about it. But there's nothing about my present that can hurt his present. There's nothing about me now that can hurt him. And that's what players don't get is they say, man, why didn't I get to do this? Why didn't I get to do that? Because you're a Google person. Somebody can Google you. Yeah. And guess what pops up? Your criminal record. Yeah, but that got thrown out. It got thrown out, but it's still on there. And that's what players don't get when you go, why aren't they seeing these players around anymore? Man, great players. Because, man, great players don't account the good people. The two don't go together. I could be a hell of a player, but now I'm an ordinary person. Like, listen, what's John Legend? We're just ordinary people. We don't know which way to go. That is one of the best songs you're going to hear because I used to be told, Ben, if you can handle being ordinary, boy, you got a chance to be great at life. Because we're going to become ordinary real quick. Think about this. You love Auburn, Rob. As soon as that current crop of players move on, man, I love you, man. You back to the ones that's there. So once the ones that was there gone, man, I love you. Ronnie Brown, Cadillac gone. It's about who's next, Kenny Irons. That's what players don't get is they're like, man, I was a great player. Yeah, dude, you went to the best school with the best coaches, with the best resource, with the best tradition. How in the world? I'm surprised when Michael Jackson kids can't sing and dance. Because if they can, well, I know who their daddy is. That's what I'm trying to convey to people is there is nothing greater than me in college sports. And I was in the NFL. Nothing greater. But I be trying to tell these young people now, with so much access, it makes you less prominent. Because I could touch you now. It used to be we was prestigious because when no one knew what we did, you only saw us on set. They film everything. Except the stuff that's real college athlete. Like, you don't see the real meetings. Coach Dean, Coach Matt, he can't show you what I really say because you're going to think I'm being harsh. No, that's the business. You just said my child sucks. Love him as a person, but he does. And when you say that out loud, someone says, did he just – I go, wait a minute. So you rather him suck and me not tell him? That's patronizing. See, that's what you want me to lie to. And listen, as my coach would say, he said, some of y'all need to stop listening to CeeLo Green. And he used to always say that. And he didn't know what they meant. He said, stop listening to CeeLo Green. So finally he said, Ben, I said, yes, coach, tell him what I mean. I said, CeeLo Green got a line in the song that say, you don't want to hear the truth, so I'm going to lie to you, make it sound fly to you. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And that's what I get. Now more than ever, I'd rather Rob Browne say, Ben, listen, I love you coming on my show, man, but you ain't it. I can instead of saying, man, I love you, Ben.
I'm not going to say that.
Get off and tell you. But what I'm telling you is what the world has become is patronizing. And a lot of players now, more than ever, I love them. My son did not make, he's in high school. He did not make the football team as a freshman. And he's devastated. You know why? Because he's heard about me. Yo, daddy this and yo, daddy that. You got to So when he didn't make it, I had to tell my son, boy, you could throw the football. He's like, yeah. I said, but you know what hurt you is? What? See, what used to be a hindrance, what used to be a gift is now a curse. You could throw that thing, but if you ain't mobile, you ain't going to make it. And my son is athletic enough to throw the football. The Tom Brady's of the world are dinosaurs. You don't believe me? The two quarterbacks in the Super Bowl had two things in common, right? They both was black guys and they both was mobile. Who were the top 3 picks in this year's draft? Number 1, number 2, and number 5. They was all black guys. They're mobile. My son is a black kid that's not mobile. He could throw that thing. Yeah. So what used to have helped him 10 years ago, and all I'm saying is my son is talented. I'm his daddy. I got to say that, but he is. But does his talent translate to what we need you to do? The answer is no. Yeah. Now, what helped him is I said, I didn't play my freshman year. He said, you got cut? I go, no, I just didn't play. But think about what my son said. For the first time in my son's life, somebody told him, your talent ain't enough, man. You good, but that ain't enough. And I think that with college football coming back up, it being here, I know USC played last week. I think a lot of these players finna realize, dude, this is gonna be my last time playing football.
That's right.
This is about to be my last time. And there's hold on. And for people saying, oh, I feel bad for them. No, because most guys it was in high school. Most guys it was 4 years ago. I think for them, it's saying, hey man, if you think Tim Tebow famous because he got drafted by the Denver Broncos, you're a liar. He's famous because he went to Florida. Yeah. He is famous for what he did in Florida. You don't believe me? They ain't did no 30 for 30 on Tim Tebow for football, not in the NFL. They're not going to do that. Every time you see Tim Tebow, you see two things. You see him on the ground doing his Tim Tebow pose, and you see him throwing it to Demaryius Thomas in overtime. That's all you ever see. You don't see nothing else. That's and guess what? The Pittsburgh Steelers played cover 0 that whole game. They played with no safety help. Now, I'm not the best player in the world, but I got to throw it with no safety help. I hope I can complete. Love Tebow, man, because I know the Tebow maniacs come at me. But
they will go crazy. I mean, but Matt, Ben's been on a roll. I just was like, man, both of us. I'm taking notes on this stuff. Comment on that. I mean, he's you can't argue with it. I can't.
Well, first of all, lots of great stuff to unpack there. But one of the things, when I recruited, like let's say I went to Ben's high school and Ben's the top recruit. We know he's going to Florida, whatever. The sign of a really great head coach for me is that coach that wants to find that other kid a job, a position somewhere that may have better academics like Rhodes College, Division III. I want to find my backup tailback a spot because I know at Rhodes he's got a chance to be successful, and also that's going to pave his way with that education to do what he needs to do and be better. And I come across those people all the time, Ben, in the recruiting process because the reality is if I don't have a scholarship, it's tough for me to land some people, especially in the whole world of financial need and those type of things, right? Even though we can package and do those things. But like another thought I had on the tough love a little bit, I remember a young lady I was coaching. She was the first-year player, freshman. And she was at the top of the key. She got picked. Another person took the ball, went down, got a layup. And she basically just kind of stood there. And so she took a negative, in my opinion, and made it a double negative. So, and this is me at Rhodes College. I kicked her out of practice. I mean, I didn't yell at her. I said that's unacceptable. You can go and take it in for the day. Because one of the things you're going to learn from me is I'm okay with you making a mistake, but you will always get back on defense and help your teammates stop the next possession, right? To this day, that kid and I have a great relationship. Now, was it a tough few days because she didn't understand at the time what I was doing? Yes. And, I've only kicked a couple people out of practice. This is my 26 years of coaching. And probably on the men's side, when I coached the men's side, it was a little more demonstrative. But in this situation, I was just trying to prove a point. Like, I don't care how good you are. If you can't do a simple thing and get back and do a sprint to correct the mistake that you just made, then, why are you playing? Why are you here? What's your why, right? I need to know your why. And then we had that conversation. She participated on several our NCAA tournament teams. She was a starter. She was a captain her senior year. Okay. But I felt important. Like I couldn't, as a professional, I couldn't let that go. There's certain things as coaches that, there's certain mistakes that are natural. Effort level mistakes never bothered me. But a non-effort level mistake like that is like the worst. You're going to hang on the cross for me on that. I mean, that's just, not hang, but I mean, that's just something that you got to address. And I think in our society today, coaches that try to get every one of their players opportunities, I love those people. And then coaches that held their players accountable once they get them, especially, a lot of times we don't know, Ben, until we coach that kid every day what we got. As a college recruiter, I watch a kid in high school. I see the stats. I know the numbers. I hear all these things, nothing but accolades. But until I see that work ethic every day, where talent meets the effort level of how hard they practice every day, I don't know truly what I got, because there's a lot of 5-stars, Ben, that are no longer in existence in terms of playing or in the league or anywhere because they didn't work hard enough, bottom line.
You know what I heard Audrey and I watch? Y'all ever watch that show Bar Rescue with that guy that just goes in and I mean, he's right. And he was ripping somebody a new one that owned a bar. I think they were in Memphis. There's a father and a son. Yeah. And he was talking to him and he said, you aren't disciplined enough to do the things that you don't want to do. And until you embrace that mentality, it's not going to change. And think about this. Everybody wants to be something. They click, they can find it on YouTube or wherever. How many people are willing to do what it takes to be something, to be great? And that is the toughest challenge I bet a coach has, because, when you were, most guys, Ben and Matt, that you recruit, most girls, they were the best on their team. Then they get to campus, whether it's basketball or it's football at Florida or Alabama or Auburn or whatever. There's 100. I was the best on my team. I was the best player in my state. Now, how are you going to handle it when you are not the only story? The only, competition is what we need more of. I mean, look, if you have to yell at your children to get them to go outside and play, that's on you. You've enabled them to become lazy couch potatoes and just do duds. I mean, my kids, aren't that old, but God, they grew up outdoors, mountain biking, hunting, fishing. Just, they love that stuff. I just think as a coach, guys, today, you got to condition these kids just to be outside other than their little practice window. And it's that mental toughness. Kirby Smart's right. If you're in this locker room at Georgia, that's because you got it. You're mentally and physically tough. You don't just get that overnight. And if you don't have it, you need not apply to play college sports, because Ben and Matt, you won't survive. I don't see how you can.
Man, there's so many gems being dropped today. I think we don't look. I didn't appreciate or understand what Ron Zip was doing for me, because people think they know what tough love is, right? They think they know. Tough love is consistent. Yeah. Like if I love tough, I love tough consistently. But what happens is I do love you though. And I think what happens when you talk about sports now is people have listened to the good part about them. So they think that's all they are. Like what I do now throughout the course of the day, people always say, my great grandma used to say, she said, the answer to life come out the mouths of living people. That's what somebody have the answer. You just got to listen to them. Coach Matt Dean said, listen, if it's an effort mistake, that's coachable. Okay, I could get that's, but a non-effort mistake, that's unacceptable. Yeah. That you can apply that to anything. You can apply that to anything. And I think when we start talking about sports now, it's too much of, this play went viral. That's one play. Like the greatest example is when Allen Iverson first got to the NBA and he crossed over Michael Jordan. People went crazy when he crossed over Mike. Michael Jordan had 40-something points and still won that game.
That's right.
It's like Yes, AI. Listen, it showed that Michael Jordan has a weakness. Yeah, I crossed up Mike. Mike's been dunked on. But Mike gonna say, hey, but I'm gonna do you more than you do me. I'm gonna be the hammer more than I'm the nail. Yeah. And the thing about it is when it comes to now is people are afraid to make mistakes in a way that they're gonna be. If you make enough plays in life, people ain't gonna remember the mistakes. You supposed to tell them that I wasn't just those plays. Because they go, oh, I remember you did this. Yeah, but I also did this. Because the bad plays is what keep you humble. The good plays is what keep you going. It's like playing golf. I better hit a good shot out here. I ain't coming. It's the one good shot out of the gazillion bad ones that keep you coming back. To let you know you can't do it. And when it comes to coaches are needed for mindset. Because players, all of us are. If you've ever been good enough to have an ego with a big head, them coaches' job is, he's the coach say, I walk in, I deflate heads every day. I deflate y'all every day. Because as great as you think you are, I know the person who's greater than you. As good as you think you are, the best players to me on any sport team are the players that never play. The ones that show up every day. They yes sir, no sir, yes coach, no coach, and they know they're not. It's the manager of the basketball team who don't know he or she is going to play the last game ever. Hey man, we're gonna let you play. Look at how they run out there, and guess what? They ain't gonna make it about them. They're gonna tuck their jersey in. They're gonna check in the way they're supposed to check in. They're gonna butt slap the player they're replacing. And they know that everybody's trying to get them a shot, right? But to me, I respect those players more because they don't have an incentive. I don't come here because I know I'm gonna do. I don't have plays called for me. Coach had to tell me don't pick up the jerseys after because you one of us. I'm telling you, it's so many parallels. And when I look back on it, Zephyr Augustine is the player I remember the most in Florida because he was the guy I had to go up against every week to get. He was a safety on the opposing team. And me and Zep used to go at it now. But this is what I realized. What Ron Zook told him is not what Ron Zook told me. Ron Zook told him if Ben ain't ready, it's your fault. Yeah. If he ain't ready to play on Saturday, it's your fault. So years down the line, when I see Zep, called him Zep, he walks up to me. I'm in Gainesville for something. He walks up to me and there's his wife with him. And he says, hey, baby, this is Ben. Remember the one? That's the one I used to lock up and practice. If I got any pride or ego in me, I try to say all kind of demonstrative things. But he said, hey, baby, remember the guy I told you about? The one I used to. It is not my place to try to say to him what the pride gonna make me say to him. I'm gonna say, you right. I just said, you right. Because if me and Zep know what really happened, do I really got to prove it to his wife? That's the part that I had to learn, man. There were people who, if I played with Tim Tebow, every time a conversation come up, I got to talk about it. Man, tell us about Tebow. Right. Either I'm gonna be mad at that, or I'm embracing saying, yeah, man, I said the best when I was in college, man. Somebody asked me about Rex Grossman and what is it like playing with him? I said, man, Rex Grossman is the gun. Man, I said, yeah, but we the bullets. So what is the gun without bullets? And I think that's what you're saying, Coach Matt is saying, look, man, my coach Zook said, I can't save all of y'all, but I'm going to try to save all. I cannot do it, but I'm going to do my best to do it because some of y'all don't get that all you have left is right now. That's all you got. So let me make sure that I'm giving you the best I possibly can. And like I said, me and my mama talk about Ron Zook. I would have fought. If I could have fought Ron Zook and not lost my eligibility, I would have beat the hell out of him. I would have.
But I mean, Matt, he's saying that. Matt, you got.
I gotta go, Ben.
I can never do for him.
Hey, you're 100% right on everything. It was major truth today, and I'm pulling for the SEC tonight in your Gators, man. Let's go Gators tonight. Get it done tonight in Utah.
Yeah, Matt, holler at me later today. Thanks so much for being on here with us, and we'll get you back on Monday. Thanks. Take care. Matt Dean, and let me say something real quick. This is truth, the truth. So every time I see Roman Harper, he goes, man, you call me the truth broker. And I just, so I'm at media days, and I said, that's because you are. I mean, and both of y'all are. That y'all both played in the SEC at the same time. You went up against Roman Harper. Yeah, you went up against him out of Prattville, Alabama. Another small town Alabama guy. But let me say something about one of our sponsors, RumbleBoxingGym.com. Check them out on our website at sidelines.live. 1835 Union Avenue. They are open every day of the week, 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. They have classes every day, multiple classes with elite instructors, all the gear, get everything you need there. Let me tell you what you do. 48 people in these class sessions. You go in there, and they are 45 minutes long, 15 3-minute rounds. And you're doing star jacks, burpees. You're doing all of the, planks, push-ups, dips, dumbbells. Then you're punching those 250-pound bags. It is a great workout. If you are building team camaraderie, take your office in there, and just beat the hell out of those bags. You get in great shape, and you won't quit. You know why? Because you got a lot of people around you that won't let you quit. But ultimately, you can't let yourself quit. Rumble Boxing Gym, awesome. We're so proud to have them as a sponsor. This is the first of 3 gyms that Ann Camp Lee is building. And Ben, Ann's mother was just inducted into the Bass Pro Waterfowl Hall of Fame. And she was interviewed by someone who does an outdoor podcast. And as of yesterday, 97-year-old Gail Camp, and we're going duck hunting with her in November, 97, has had over 800,000 views. She got up there and blew the duck call. She's a former world champion in Stuttgart, Arkansas, and got multiple standing ovations. And the woman, absolutely amazing. I've known her 28 years, but that's the mother of Ann Camp Lee, RumbleBoxingGym.com. Ben, great stuff, man. I absolutely love it, what we're talking about, because you're right. My parents will say things to me sometimes, and my wife, Audrey, and you just want to grab them and just like, you're wrong. But then, like you say, you've got a son. Everybody, that's Ben Troop's son. It's what's your son's name?
We got the same name.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So, and look, I'm named after my dad, and I'm not an architect. People say, you're gonna be an architect like your dad. God, could you imagine me in architecture school? Wow, it's taken 10 years. I would have gone insane. And thinking about that, Ben, our man Yan Cowart, Philip's brother. Yan played offensive line when I was at Auburn, started 3 years on the line. He was a Swiss Army knife. He played every position you could play while being in architecture school. That is amazing. I think he's the last one to do it. It's been 40 years. Ben, University of Florida academically is a damn good school. It's really hard. It's one of only 6 colleges in America to have a law school, a medical school, and a vet school. That's unique. So, I don't know what your major was. It doesn't matter what your major is. Florida's a hard school. Now, before we get into some more football and talking about the Gators and the Utes tonight, as they say, a shout out to my cousin Vinny, the Utes. I love that name, the Utes. That's an Indian tribe, and they're awesome. What happened in Savannah? The storm coming through there. I was sending you some text last night. We still hadn't heard from our man Shoney down in Titletown, USA, that being Valdosta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Yesterday during the show, he said, Rob, internet's kind of shaky. These are the strongest winds I've ever seen in my life. 125 mile an hour winds are pretty scary. But what y'all experienced there in Savannah, and is it out of there now? I'm sure the sun's up now.
Yeah, it's out of there. Yeah, we the thing about it is obviously what helps Savannah and a place like Savannah, Richmond Hill, Jekyll Island, Brunswick, St. Simons is once it cuts across the state. Obviously a tropical storm gets its energy and impact when it's over that water. By the time once it crosses over, it gets really, really weak. But I think for us is the main thing people got to understand. When there are natural disasters, that's when we're supposed to come together as people to understand that there are people that's going to listen. Most of us are going to have some debris in our yard. We're going to have a couple of things we're going to have to replace. There are certain people that's waking up to nothing today. I think they said between like Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, something like you got like 200-something thousand people. But that's a lot of people that had their whole life wrecked. So these natural disaster effort companies that deploy when things like, I can't say thank you enough to people like that, because when people say, well, why don't people just leave? Yeah. Well, I think the reason why people don't, Rob, is because it takes everything. Most of us, it takes everything we have to live every day, to live every month. So to talk about, and then if I do leave, okay, where do I go? Because these hotels, it ain't like they being, they being like generous with their, facilities and saying. So I think these relief efforts are going to be far and wide. And we didn't really have a big hurricane season this year as far as like during the summer. So now we kind of getting in the fall. But I can see right now saying you can sing, send the stars helps earn money to make more content. I think that we didn't get that. We didn't get that bad. Both of my daughters are in the state of Florida. They both just fine. My youngest, her birthday was yesterday. She was happy to get a day out of school. Like, I don't gotta go to school. I don't gotta go to school. Their kids will find, even if it's a natural disaster, they don't care. I don't gotta go to school today, Daddy, but I do got to go to school on Thursday because But I'm praying for all the families affected. I'm definitely gonna be getting with some hurricane natural disaster relief companies to see. And listen, food, clothes, money, anything. Your physical presence helping. Make sure, because I guarantee you this, if you've never been to a disaster zone, it looks like a third world country. If you just go and see how much help these people need. So I would say to anybody that wants to help, whatever you can donate. I mean, obviously, you got different ones.
Did you see that one?
Yeah. Hey man, hey, Carlos Rogers went there. Hey, and listen, I'm really, really good friends with Browne. I played with the Bucks for a little bit with Cadillac Williams. I met Jason Campbell, obviously. So yeah, man, I know I got a lot of a lot of good friends with the Auburn, man.
Hey, look, I mean, and that this is what I was telling Gary Harris in Tuscaloosa, and we have mutual friends. That's how I got him on the show. And Rodney Orr, Tyler Insider. And I was like, I was thinking about Alan Gates, one of my sponsors, what we call the Club 250, our populist movement, in addition to our sponsors. And I was telling Alan this morning, I said, with friends like you, they're Alabama people, and he's in my hunting club, the Cherry Farm. And I've coached, Bishop, John Morgan, several of his kids over the years, cross country and track and field. Awesome, awesome family. He's an Alabama grad. I said, with Alabama friends like you, it makes it hard to pull. I mean, I want to beat you. Don't get me wrong. But that's what this show is these relationships that we have. They're so important. And we've got the most unbelievable fans and listeners, but all these different fan bases. I'm an Auburn grad, but Audrey's always says you get as excited about the other schools as you do about Auburn. I mean, yeah, I do, because that's why I'm crazy, but I say this all the time. I don't want to see football. Houston Nutt was on the show with us yesterday. You played against him when he was Arkansas's coach. Man, that guy, you know what? It put it in perspective. I know this, but you don't know it until I said, are you ready to get back up to New York City? And he said, no, I'm actually going to take off this year. I got a couple of years left on my contract. And he said, but I've got 2 grandsons and, I want to do some things. I've never been to a tailgate. He'd never been to a college tailgate, but you think about it. He played college ball. Then he was a GA. Then he got into coaching. And then he said 22 weeks a year, 22 weekends, Thursday through Sunday, he's up in New York for CBS Sports. You don't realize what people sacrifice. If there was one coach I'd love to sit down with and have a Hams beer with, that'd be Bud Grant of the Minnesota Vikings. I think he's still living. Hard ass duck hunter, Fran Tarkington, Francis, think about it. I mean, you just said it. Steve Spurrier recruited you. You played for the Zooker, Ryan Zook. man, you understand. And when you watch these schools, you've got friends on all these teams. And when y'all were in the NFL, Bo Jackson talked about it one time in a story. He said, man, we went in when he played, AA baseball for the Memphis Chicks, the Kansas City Royals. He said, we'd go at it every day. We weren't talking about pro sports. We were talking about where we went to college. And that, I mean, Ben, it's like that, isn't it? You never, and then your high school. Memphis is the only town I know of when people say, where did you go to school? They're talking about where'd you go to high school. Everywhere else, it's your college. Who do you pull for? And, that great saying by former Tennessee coach Doug Dickey, tradition never graduates. Say it again. Tradition never graduates.
It's the greatest. It is. It is. What makes it so great is, if you went to Florida, you went to Auburn, you went to Georgia, you went to Tennessee, you expect them to say something. People don't think, oh, well, Kentucky don't talk trash. Yeah, they do. Vanderbilt don't talk, because you're tied to these institutions and you tied to the good and to the bad. My argument is always, who's the greatest running back? Who got the most? I said the greatest running back in NFL history, right? Is Emmitt Smith, because he won 3 Super Bowls and he got the rushing title. The best running back in NFL history is Barry Sanders, right? I said my favorite running back was Sweetness, Walter Payton. Them Georgia fans to say, oh, well, Herschel Walker. I said Herschel Walker, he was the man at Georgia. Who broke his record for most rushing touchdowns? Tebow, who also won. And I think what it's you love it because you start talking about the colors and the traditions, and you start realizing just as much about your rival teams' traditions, the Hotty-Toddies and the War Eagles and Mr. Big Spur and all these things. It's an appreciation level. It's an appreciation level, Rob, because we know how hard it is, right, to even get into these schools if you don't play a sport.
Yes. To
get into Auburn, and if you're not an athlete, it's just as hard as being one. We got noticed to go to these schools because of our talent. But our minds and our academics, that's got to be what we got to have in place before we can actually get to these schools. And then when you get there and you start really, I say this all the time, Auburn, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina State. I didn't pick Florida over these schools. I just picked Florida. If somebody said, hey, Rob, what's your favorite thing to drink? And they put that there with every other thing you like. All you're saying, God, man, I mean, it's like you get. I went to a dealership. I went to a Mercedes dealership, a BMW dealership, and just had to pick one. It's like, well, I can't pick a bad one, and then I get to play against these guys when I'm in college, and during the games is when I get to show who I am and what I am athletically and gifts and talent-wise. Before the game and after the game, it's the same conversation. All right, boy, have a good one. All right, boy, stay healthy. All right, boy, I love you. Because we appreciate not just what it took to get here. Nick Saban said it the best. What it takes to get here, it takes that and more to stay here. Because it's hard. They're recruiting every year trying to get rid of you.
Yeah.
Coaches might get fired, leave. And I went through a coaching change. And I think, and like I said, it's such a high level of appreciation because and Ronnie Browne didn't even know this. I was at the Black Sports Biz Symposium, and Ronnie Browne was there. I saw Ronnie, but we so much older than the young people that's there. None of those young people knew who Ronnie Browne was. Now I could have made a big thing about it. I could have made a huge. But you know what I appreciate about Ronnie Browne? Ronnie Browne understood, man. I've had my time, man.
Yeah,
I was the number 2 overall. The number 2 overall pick and the number 5 overall pick in 2005 were in the same backfield. And the number 2 pick was the backup. Yeah. What type of nonsense is that? And when I watch Cadillac get to be the head coach of Auburn, I don't care if it was 2 or 3 games. That's a dream come true for any player. And I'm just happy for these guys. I'm happy at the men they become. Because when we young, man, it's all about athletics. It's all about who can out. And I met Ronnie Browne back in 2000, the Florida Georgia High School All-Star game, and the running back from Brunswick High School he started, and Ronnie Browne had to play fullback. You know what Ronnie Browne did? Stuck his hand in the dirt and blocked. He was showing you the type of person he was back then. But you're right, Rob, man. It's like it's too many guys to name when it comes to this camaraderie. But when we played Auburn my junior year and Cadillac got hurt and Ronnie Browne came in, Ronnie Browne still had almost like 150 yards. It was ridiculous. And listen, mind you, I kept saying this. I said, listen, when you start, listen, I said, I remember when Thurman Thomas was the running back at Oklahoma State.
Oh my!
And everybody used to say, "Man, that Thurman Thomas." They said, you don't want that backup Barry Sanders to come in there. What? You better hope Thurman don't get hurt, because if he do, that dude behind. And I just think that to know that we were blessed enough, Cartersville, Georgia, Swainsboro, Georgia, Thompson, we get to say, I mean, where did you play at? Oh, I played at Auburn. I played at Georgia. I played at Florida. That stuff is a dream, man. When I tell my nephew is a junior in high school right now, he says, Unc, I want to go to Ohio State. You know what I told him? Everybody do. Every player in high school, hey, man, you got to go to Ohio State. Oh, man. You know what he going to say? I'm a Michigan fan. That's all. I mean, Charles Woodson is Mr. Ohio, and he went to he went to Michigan. I just know that at the end of the day, what my life is using these platforms to help tell other people's stories, because people be thinking, oh man, I said, no, man, you think I was that back then. Let me show you what I'm doing now, because it's about the people, it's about the platform, it's about the perspective. And that's what you do, Rob. You giving people a chance to say, look, man, I'm still out here. I'm still enjoying life. I'm still under the shade tree drinking sweet tea. And I want that diabetic sweet tea. I want that sugar floating at the bottom sweet tea. But at the same time,
you're mad.
Whenever I get it, whenever I, because my podcast is going to be called Only One Dash. I'm getting ready to start it here soon. And the reason why I chose to call it that is we all have one life to live, all of us.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me about, hey, man, talk to me about life, because what it does is, you think I'm going to sit down with Ronnie Browne and just talk to Ronnie Browne about playing at Auburn? No, Ronnie Browne, man, what did your mama mean to you? What does life mean to you now? Who is Ronnie? Because that's me showing people, Ronnie, Carlos, Jason, whomever, we are more than just entertainers athletically. And that's the fun part about what I do now is storytelling, man. Just being able to sit down with people and say, hey, Ronnie, man, tell us about you and your relationship with your mom. And watch he lean back in his chair and look up in the air and go, oh, because people say, I was told if you don't remember the people that meant the most to you, they died twice. Because you got to remember them in real time. You get to tell people about them in real time. And like I said, nobody ever knew my grandparents. I'm gonna try to do a short film on them one day. Medea, Tyler Perry and Medea ain't got nothing on my grandparents. My grandparents were that in real life. That was them in real life. But I listen. 2 days ago, I had my first ever meeting with my crew called The Uncommon Crew. That's The Uncommon Crew, CRU.com. It's a mentoring enrichment program, but for boys ages 12 to 18, and we partner with the local college down at East Georgia State College, and we bring boys from the college as the big brother mentors. So we got big brother, little brothers. And the greatest thing about it, 2 days ago, Rob, was the fact that these boys ain't never. Now the boys in my group have met me. I've never met the young man from the college till the other day. And I remember they pulled up and they looking right. I yelled at them and said, "You at the right place. This is the way you're supposed to be." And they walked in and they were just really, really loving with the young man that was in there. And when you doing what you're supposed to do, you can feel it. Like when you where you're supposed to be. And I knew that's why I walked away from football, because the longer I played, the longer it was going to take me to realize who I was. Listen, love the game, love it. But I just know that the quicker I walked away from the game, the quicker I could become me. And I'm me. I was me then, but I'm just saying when it comes to stuff now, I didn't want to be that player that If you didn't know who I was, if I walk in the room, I'm not staying. If you don't acknowledge me when I'm in the room, I'm not staying. Because I think for whoever that is, hey man, God bless you. I want to be able to say, I want to see Rob Browne before Rob sees me, and I'm yelling at Rob like Rob is a future Hall of Famer. Because as former players, we know how to celebrate people. We've been celebrating so much. We know how to do it. I'll get about 10 kids. I'll give them like $5 a piece. I said, listen, I want y'all to walk up to that guy over there and say, oh, you Rob Browne Sidelines? And take his picture. He gonna be like, got his autograph. Why? Because his wife's standing next to him. His wife gonna be like, what the hell going on? why they ask me autograph? I'm like, Rob. Rob.
Well, Ben, I'll tell you something, man. And I'm just, people love having you on here. And I will say this, and I'm going to say something real quick about Christian James, his mom, and dad, Bill and Sheila James. I've known the kid, and I watched him in high school at Christian Brothers High School. He plays football for Vanderbilt, defensive lineman, 6'5", 290 now, in his 5th year. Last year, look at these stats: 32 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, and he's injured. He's going to miss the first 3 or 4 games, probably, Bill told me. But, Bill and Sheila are members of the Club 250 on the show, sponsoring us. And you know what Christian did? There's a great story, black belt, gold heart. Now, this is the bad dude. As Sam Pittman said, that's a bad man right there. He's got a black belt in Taekwondo and a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, and he trained this spring at the UFC Training Center in Las Vegas with Forrest Griffin. He's going to, I think, he's getting some interest from the NFL, but he'll follow through. I've known his dad 32 years. Great people. Just wanted to bring that up about the family that it takes to get you there. But I'll tell you something else, Ben. Audrey gets, you cannot drive around. You talk about helping people and doing good things. Our friend Janet Bell's tailgate is right there next to the Tiger Tailgate Show at Auburn. And Ronnie Browne, Jason Campbell, Tommy Tuberville, I'm sure will be there this weekend. When they come off the stage, they're just right there, so we always talk to them. And Ronnie comes on the show, Jason Campbell comes on the show, and you're right about them. They're just – Ronnie's favorite sport that he was the best in, believe it or not, was baseball. I mean, you know that, but you're talking about it. But you think about it, I can't ride around town anywhere without my wife, Audrey. If she sees somebody on the street that looks like they're in a rough spot, because she had a brother go through that for a long time, and every night it tore her up. And at first I thought, oh, this is crazy. No, you don't realize it till you get out on the street and you see the impact someone like you can have. And the police came one time in Memphis. Some neighbor didn't know what was going on, and 3 of them came, and one of them was called a crisis intervention team, like the CIT. And he said, you know what, we can arrest them, but at the end of the day, they're just a lot of paperwork. They're out the next day. He didn't do anything wrong, but you can help people. So, when you got money and you got influence and you got people, you go out and you make a positive difference. A lot of athletes, you look at professional athletes, they go out and look at Takeo Spikes, what he does. He helps athletes transition back into just normal day-to-day life. He played 15 years in the NFL. Doug Dean said he talked with Takeo Tuesday. He'll be on the show here soon. But that's another Georgia boy. Sandersville, Waco, Washington County. I don't think people.
Terrence there was in
Robert Edwards.
Terrence and Robert.
Yeah, and people don't realize, and if you want to really understand why we talk about this 12 months a year about football, basketball, baseball, you can't talk about college without talking about the pros. It all comes together. Mm-hmm. Go outside the locker room when the players come out after the game. My parents made me do this as a kid, and my kids did it, and I still do it. Because I know some coaches I want to talk to. There's so many people out there that are with them, and they come to these games no matter what. The coaches, the guidance counselors, the pastors, the people. Sports make a difference. And when you got a platform like you do, Ben, I mean, you light up a room when you come in. You light up this damn show when you come on. I don't think people should ever forget, you get one trip to the plate. And listening to you talk about what you said today, because I've been around Ronnie Browne and Jason Campbell. Jason Campbell said as a kid living in Mississippi near the Alabama border in Taylorsville, He was riding around his sophomore year in high school in his dad's pickup truck on their farm. His dad was a high school football coach, listening to the Iron Bowl. And he said, Dad, I'm going to play in that game one day. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. These are every story of every athlete, Ben, it's worth a book. Just what it takes to get there. Uncommon and unfinished, what you write about. So I love it. We're about out of time. And, again, I got a lot of questions I'm not going to be able to get to, and we just run out of time. But most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go out. You never know, Ben, and I'll just let you close, but your words, a kind word, just helping somebody out, whether it's giving them, monetarily or just support and saying, hey, man, you matter. But try walking by somebody and not acknowledging them. That's devastating. And I think what you're doing and what we had on this show today with Matt Dean, Gary Harris, Dudley Dawson, here it is, man. We're just a few hours away from kickoff. Oh, my, Gators and the Utes. Does it get any better than this? I'm getting in the car after the show. We're driving down to Auburn. I'm so wound up right now. I don't know what to do. But, Ben, give us about a 90-second pep talk. We're about to run out on the field. We're in the locker room. It's really the start of college football season tonight because the Gators are playing, and America and the free world want to hear from Gentle Ben. Big Ben.
It's the greatest two words in college football. It's the greatest two words in sports. Game day. Most people just talk about it. Most people get to live it through us. We get to live it because of us. I want you guys to understand this. Don't care about the win. Don't care about the loss. Stick your hand on the next man's heartbeat and don't let it move off until it's synchronized. We got to have the same heartbeat. Because what happens is what we do as individuals cannot be stopped as a team. If we come out here today and we do our part, I can live with the result. It's when you don't do your part. If I don't play well and we win, but I do play well and we lose, which one would you rather be? I just want to play well, do my part. Because, as a coach once told me, if you don't do your part, we don't have a shot. But all of us got to think like that. Oh, yeah. And do me this one favor. When your teammate missed the tackle, missed the block, drop the pass, that's when they need you. They don't need you if they catch it. They don't need you if they score because they achieved it. Football is the ultimate team game. Listen, fellas, we are a hell of a team. We got a hell of a coaching staff. This is a hell of a university. That team out there, they think it only get hot in Gainesville. Let's show them what hell feels like. Give them hell. See y'all boys after the game.
Man, I'm leaving it at that. Woo! God, I love this stuff. Hey, Ben, thank you so much as always. And look, folks, we'll be back on tomorrow. Got a great lineup and going to have a special guest next week, Josh Carney. You're going to read about him. You're going to hear a lot about him. His story is incredible. I talked to him. Thank you, Neil Johnson, for the hookup there. But let me tell you something. Everybody matters. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. God bless you. We are out of here. Go help somebody out. We'll see you tomorrow.